fatigue that no amount of sleep seems to fix, mood swings that feel like they belong to someone else, weight that shows up without warning and refuses to leave, brain fog that makes you question your own sharpness. If any of this sounds familiar, you are not broken, you are not lazy, and you are absolutely not alone. What's happening inside your body after 40 has a name, it has a reason, and most importantly, it has a solution. And in the next 7 minutes, you're going to understand your body in a way that nobody ever took the time to explain to you. Stay with me, because this changes everything. Let's start by saying something that needs to be said out loud. What you are feeling is real. The exhaustion is real. The emotional waves are real. The frustration of doing everything right and still feeling like something is deeply off. That is real. For too long, women have been handed a prescription, told it's just aging, or simply dismissed. But your symptoms are not weakness. They are not inevitable. They are messages. Your body's way of telling you that something has shifted and that it needs a different kind of support. What has shifted, specifically, is your hormonal landscape. After 40, levels of estrogen and progesterone begin a gradual but significant decline. And because these hormones touch virtually every system in your body, your metabolism, your mood, your sleep, your cognition, your libido, when they shift, everything shifts with them. And that's not a personal failure. That's biology. But biology, when you understand it, becomes something you can work with. So let's talk about what's actually happening. Simply, clearly, and without the medical jargon that makes most women's eyes glaze over. Think of your hormones as a symphony orchestra. Estrogen and progesterone are the lead instruments, but there are others playing alongside them. Cortisol, your stress hormone, insulin, your blood sugar regulator, and your thyroid hormones, which control your metabolism. When the lead instruments begin to quiet down after 40, the rest of the orchestra has to compensate. Cortisol gets louder. Insulin becomes less efficient. The thyroid starts working harder just to keep up. And suddenly, the music that used to flow beautifully starts to sound like chaos. Here's what most women don't know. The perimenopausal transition, the hormonal shift before menopause, can begin up to 10 years before your last period. Which means women in their early 40s, sometimes even late 30s, are already experiencing hormonal fluctuations that nobody warned them about. And chronically elevated cortisol from everyday stress makes all of it worse, because cortisol actively suppresses the production of progesterone, disrupts insulin sensitivity, and throws your entire hormonal ecosystem into imbalance. Your hormones don't work in isolation. When one is off, everything else feels it. That's why the solution has to be holistic. And that holistic solution begins with what you eat, because food is not just fuel. For your hormonal system, food is information. Every meal you eat sends a signal to your endocrine system, either supporting balance or creating more chaos. So let's talk about the foods and nutrients that your hormones are actually asking for. First, increase your fiber intake, especially from sources like ground flaxseed, oats, lentils, and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. Fiber helps your body eliminate excess estrogen through the digestive system, preventing it from recirculating and creating imbalance. Second, prioritize protein at every single meal. Eggs, wild-caught fish, legumes, Greek yogurt. Protein stabilizes blood sugar, which stabilizes insulin, which stabilizes your energy and your mood. Third, don't fear healthy fats. Avocado, olive oil, walnuts, and fatty fish are the raw materials your body uses to manufacture hormones. Without adequate healthy fat, hormone production literally slows down. Fourth, reduce refined sugar and ultra-processed foods as much as possible, because of the insulin spikes they create, which over time contribute to hormonal resistance and chronic. And fifth, Consider adding adaptogenic herbs to your routine. Ashwagandha to modulate cortisol, maca root to support estrogen balance, and magnesium-rich foods like dark chocolate, spinach, and pumpkin seeds to improve sleep quality and reduce the physical impact of stress. These are not trends. These are nutritional strategies with growing scientific support for hormonal health in women over 40. But food alone is not the complete picture, because your daily habits speak to your hormones just as powerfully as what's on your plate. Movement is medicine, and for women after 40, strength training 2 to 3 times per week is one of the most powerful hormonal interventions available. It increases insulin sensitivity, preserves muscle mass that naturally declines with age, and supports bone density that estrogen used to protect. Daily walking, even 30 minutes, reduces cortisol, regulates blood glucose, and supports cardiovascular health that becomes increasingly important after 40. Sleep is non-negotiable. During deep sleep, your body regulates leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that control hunger and satiety, and produces the growth hormone that repairs your tissues overnight. Chronic sleep deprivation is one of the fastest ways to accelerate hormonal imbalance. And finally, your emotional environment matters more than you might think. Chronic stress keeps cortisol permanently elevated, which directly suppresses progesterone production and creates a hormonal environment that makes everything else harder to regulate. Daily breathwork, even 5 minutes of intentional deep breathing, has been shown to meaningfully reduce cortisol levels. Protecting your energy, learning to say no without guilt, creating genuine rest in your schedule is not a luxury. For your hormonal health, it is a clinical necessity. Now imagine what life feels like on the other side of this. Imagine waking up with energy that actually carries you through the day, not the kind that requires 3 coffees just to feel functional, but the steady, sustainable kind that comes from a body that is genuinely supported. Imagine emotional stability that doesn't depend on everything going perfectly, a groundedness that comes from inside rather than from your circumstances. Imagine mental clarity that lets you think sharply, create boldly, and show up fully for the life you've built. This is not a fantasy reserved for women who have perfect genetics or unlimited time. This is what becomes available when you stop fighting your body and start working with it. Your 40s are not the beginning of the end. They are the beginning of a deeper, more powerful, more intentional version of you, if you give your body what it's actually asking for. So here is where you start. Today, not next month. Choose one thing from what you heard in this video. Add ground flaxseed to your breakfast. Take a 30-minute walk this evening. Put your phone down an hour before bed. Start somewhere real and somewhere small. And then come back here and tell me in the comments, which symptom resonated with you the most? Which strategy are you going to try first? Because this community exists for exactly that reason. To make sure that no woman over 40 feels alone in this journey, and that every woman has access to the knowledge her body deserves. If this video gave you something valuable, subscribe. Because every week we go deeper into what it truly means to thrive in your body, your mind, and your soul at every stage of life. Your body has carried you this far. Now it's time to carry it back, with knowledge, with intention, and with the deep respect it has always deserved.